Welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me for this explainer, because today we're going to pull back the curtain on the corporate world. We are looking at exactly who holds the real power behind closed doors in major corporations. If you've ever stopped and wondered how the massive, multi-billion-dollar brands that shape our world are actually controlled, and, who is really pulling the strings? Well, you are in the exact right place. Let's get right into it.
Here's our quick roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to hit 1, the foundation, 2, the 3 players, 3, inside the board, 4, the board's toolkit, and finally, number 5, the ultimate check. I want to start by asking you a pretty fundamental question. Who really runs a multi-billion-dollar corporation? When most of us picture the ultimate boss of a massive company, we almost always picture the CEO, right? The chief executive officer, the person you see on all the magazine covers. But, as the research clearly shows, the CEO is actually just an agent. They're an employee. They are definitely not at the top of the food chain. So if the CEO isn't the ultimate boss, who is?
To answer that, let's kick things off with Section 1, the foundation, setting the rules.
At its core, corporate governance is the system of rules, practices, and processes by which a business is directed and controlled. It's a pretty intricate framework that touches on almost every aspect of management. Really, it exists to strike this delicate balance between the needs of all the company's various stakeholders. We're talking everyone from the investors who fund the operation to the management running it, all the way down to the customers and the local community. It is the absolute bedrock for achieving a company's long-term goals.
Now check out this traditional definition. It's rooted in the Latin verb gubernare, which means to steer. And I honestly love this metaphor. Corporate governance isn't about rowing the ship. It's not about the heavy lifting and the daily grind of operations. It is entirely about standing up at the helm, setting the direction, and steering the vessel to ensure commercial integrity and long-term financial viability.
Moving right along to Section 2, the 3 players, the key stakeholders.
Corporate governance is essentially the interaction between 3 primary groups. First up, you have the shareholders. These are the actual owners of the corporation who invest their hard-earned capital. Then, down at the bottom, you have management, your executives, like the CEO and CFO, who run the day-to-day operations. But look right there in the middle, the board of directors. The board is the vital central pillar that connects the owners to the operators. They are elected by the shareholders for one specific reason: to oversee top management and make sure the company is actually hitting its strategic goals.
So the absolutely crucial thing to grasp here is that the board doesn't just act on a whim. Their entire existence is bound by what's called a fiduciary duty. And this isn't just a suggestion, it's a strict legal obligation. Board members have to view the resources and talents at their command as a trust that they are managing on behalf of the shareholders. Their fundamental job is to increase value for those owners. As the source material points out, in a kind of funny multiple choice scenario, their job is absolutely not to demotivate shareholders. They are legally required to act in good faith and with due diligence to protect the owner's assets.
Let's dive a little deeper with Section 3, inside the board. Who actually sits at the table?
Corporate boards are usually made up of a pretty diverse mix of individuals, and they generally fall into 2 categories. First, we have inside directors. These are your major shareholders, founders, or top executives, like the CEO, who are actually employed by the corporation to run its day-to-day activities. But to balance them out, we have independent directors. These are outsiders, carefully chosen because of their track record of leading other successful organizations. They are absolutely crucial for good governance because they provide that necessary outsider's perspective. They balance shareholder interests against insider interests, and they drastically reduce any dangerous concentration of power.
And this brings us to what is probably the most misunderstood aspect of corporate governance. Let's clear this up right now, because it's a big one. In a strict legal sense, the board's function is to direct and oversee the affairs of the corporation, but absolutely not to manage them. Remember our ship metaphor from earlier? The board is steering, they're navigating. They explicitly delegate the actual operating authority to top executives who act as their agents to, row the ship and handle the daily grind.
This separation of powers is perfectly embodied by the chairman of the board. The chairman's role is intentionally separated from daily operational management. Why? So they can focus entirely on ensuring the board and its committees perform their proper oversight functions. The chairman schedules the board meetings, presides over the annual shareholders meeting, and basically keeps the whole governance structure functioning cleanly, without getting bogged down in today's operational fires.
Okay, let's look at Section 4, the board's toolkit. What do they actually do in practice?
Well, the board juggles some incredibly heavy, high-level responsibilities all at once.
As the ultimate custodians of a company's performance, their core duties include making annual budgets, setting out governance policies, and, perhaps most crucially, electing the CEO. Let's break those core obligations down into 4 major steps. Step 1. They set the corporate strategy, direction, and mission. They literally decide what businesses or industries the firm should even be competing in. Step 2, and this is massive, they hold the absolute power to hire and fire the CEO and top management. Step 3 involves overseeing the company's financial accounting and reporting to ensure complete transparency. And Step 4, they review and approve how the company's resources are being used.
But their toolkit doesn't stop there. The board is intensely involved in evaluating management's strategic leadership skills. They hold the purse strings, establishing dividend policies for the shareholders and determining executive salaries. And critically, they are expected to rigorously appraise the validity and wisdom of the company's strategy. They don't just blindly accept what the CEO says, right? They guide management, they make independent judgments, and they act as the ultimate architects of the company's long-term performance.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the ultimate check. What happens when this system fails?
The research provides us with this incredibly powerful warning. It says that boards of directors that lack the backbone to challenge a strong-willed or imperial CEO, or that just rubber stamp almost anything the CEO recommends without probing inquiry and debate, abdicate their fiduciary duty to represent and protect shareholder interests. This right here is the ultimate check. Strong governance is a company's vital immune system. If a board becomes passive and merely nods along to an aggressive executive, they aren't just doing a bad job, they are legally failing their duty to the owners.
And that brings us to the final critical question I want to leave you with today. Whether you have a 401k, a pension, or you hold stock directly, you are a shareholder. So think about it. Are the boards of the brands managing your investments truly steering the ship with independent backbone? Or are they just rubber stamping the captain's orders? Understanding corporate governance isn't just some academic theory. It directly impacts the safety and the growth of your personal investments. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll see you next time.